All right, welcome to the Patriot Hour. We got Scott and Nate in studio.
Good evening.
Thanks for having me back, guys.
All right, we got a few joining. It's only saying 6 in the room, but that can't be right.
And Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. This might be the last one I'm going to be a part of before or until after the holidays. It does get a little busy here. Yeah, the room's starting to fill up a little bit. Send in your comments, any topics you want to hit. I don't know how long this show will be, but we're on our way through, doing a little bit of traveling tonight for some work tomorrow, so we thought we'd do a little bit of a show and reach out and tell everybody Merry Christmas. Get Nate back in the studio. It's been a while, so everybody say hello to Nate.
What's up, Nate? That's what we we decided to jump on, even if it wasn't very long, just to see you guys. They're here. Why not? Why miss the opportunity? Yeah, we got 30 joined so far. Host.
I see 37 from one of our admins, 41. Hi, Scott, Nate, good to have you. Lori, nice to be back.
Hello, hello.
The Patriot Tech thing, and I love it. I love the whole live thing. It makes when you have a dull moment, and I'm sure some of our watchers and listeners have seen some of that, instead of trying to brainstorm or we both getting a little fart or a hiccup, it's so easy to go right to the people and just talk at them.
So we love it. How's everyone doing out there tonight? Let's do some shout outs. Where's everybody from? Just put your city or something.
There's Daniel
or your
Bird.
state. It doesn't matter. And
sorry, just got here. Don't worry about it. We just literally got started. You might be 60 seconds behind. It is Christmas. It's fun to use the word Christmas, too, with today's PC world. Maybe we can beat that up for a few minutes. It's so PC.
Right, Mike?
Right,
yeah.
Mike? Yeah. That was one of the notes I wrote down as we sat down here. I wrote,
there we go.
2PC, Santa Claus. Now they're trying to say Santa's might be too fat. What role does Santa play? What's the word I'm looking for? Is he man? Is he woman? Is he? What's the gender? Neutral?
Yeah, they want him
neutral.
He should be neutral, gender neutral.
Gender neutral. Yeah.
What was that the other night? You said your in-laws were you wanted to show them the just the Trump one with Hillary up on stage.
Maybe it's cold outside. They loved it. My boy had a 5th birthday party, so we showed that off a little bit, but. My biggest question tonight, since we're going to go live, and we are live, it's hard to describe it in one word or two, but if you can answer yes, I'm going through that, or yes, we see that. But around here, the last couple of years, we've had some situations where the old squeaky wheels get in the grease to where, it's been heritage, it's been history that we do Christmas shows at schools and maybe some Christmas themes around the schools, or maybe just in public, and now they're being, obviously, now it's being called the holiday season. You got 1 or 2 families in your local area that go and complain, and they don't want to see the play. Are y'all having that? Are you having schools being, controversy, local, public stuff, or plays that have been, now it's too PC to call it Merry Christmas or talk about Jesus? So maybe just chime in a little bit on that. I know we definitely have that, and it's a great concern to me. It really,
the nativity scenes being taken away from everything.
So we know that there was a big thing in the 90s to separate church and state. I don't know if it's been going on. That was when it really hit, but these things typically take place after school. I don't know if it's always still okay, like if it's a Friday evening or something, or if it's not during school hour. I don't know what the ruling is on it.
I can tell you during Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas and Easter, those are the ones that we actually were just talking about this because it was actually a school board meeting conversation, not with me, but obviously. Anyway, so if you don't believe, or your family or your child, or you don't want your child to believe, because most children want to believe in Christmas and the Easter Bunny and all that Halloween stuff. So if you don't want your child being a part of that, your child comes to school. Usually school has the programs midday or something, so your said child can have he'll get the credit, or she'll get the credit for being at school, so it doesn't go against their attendance. But it doesn't harm the child that you remove them before the school function starts,
when they would go over, like the Big Bang Theory. I remember this in my own, Darwin or all that. Like, next week we're going to be getting into this, and certain people, and these
Yeah.
people wouldn't be in class because either they went home, and the teachers would even bring it up, like, if you're not going to do that because of your religious belief,
Correct.
and they'd go do something else that was equivalent to work on, and not
Most
have
of
to
the,
hear.
when I was a kid, they'd just send you down to the library. I mean, if your
Yes,
parents
yes.
wrote it. Now, see, most of us had parents that, didn't complain every time there was something little to complain
They didn't
There
take
was-
it on to shut it down
There
for
was
everybody
always a
else.
certain few people in each class that had a different religion.
Right.
So they were
and all
allowed
these-
to step out of class. They
Yes.
were allowed to go down to the library.
To just study or do what, they didn't have to participate, in wearing Halloween costumes or talking about Easter or Easter. I don't even think you can do an Easter egg hunt anymore on the same premise that it used to be.
So this old premise was, if I don't like this, I'm going to turn the channel or just separate myself. But the new thing is I'm going to shut it down for everybody else because I don't
agree
like
with
it.
You can't either.
Right.
Yeah.
The old days, you just change the channel. Now they pretend they go into court and they file these lawsuits and whatnot saying, let's shut this down. Well, you were one out of 1,500 people that didn't want it. And most of these plays are after school. So it's just like a TV. We're not telling you have to. Just don't show up. But why
Yeah,
are you
do
trying
not
to?
come there
because
Friday.
they can. You see, they can.
That's,
and that's
But
the
then
problem.
that's
again-
my right.
But then again, your religion has to be supported by everybody else in the school.
Lori M., I love it. I love it. The end of your comment. Jesus is the reason for the season. We need to bring it back. That's exactly right.
You said every child loves Christmas.
agree.
But it is every parent's job to teach their children what Christmas is about.
Well, and that's the problem. The Nikas of the world aren't going to talk about Jesus, but they love, and that was always another debate that I love thrown in their faces. And so I'm a little evil tonight, y'all, because Christmas is important to me for a lot of reasons, but mainly because of Christ. But if you don't believe in Jesus Christ, why are you celebrating with gifts and presents and so you're gonna enjoy the holiday based on the premise that you get
What
stuff.
holiday? What
Right.
holiday?
You shouldn't be recognized. Well, it's good for the kids. What's good about it? It's not. It's one of them situations where you're going to like Mike always loves to say. There's those types of people that personally benefit from something, and this topic's it's Christmas gifts and whatnot. They benefit, but they don't believe in it. But they're willing to go along with it because it benefits them. But if they really were serious about their beliefs, they wouldn't participate. So I just find it.
And that also goes back to not bashing anybody. I don't care what anybody else's beliefs are. I know what my beliefs are. But an atheist that argues with me about God and Jesus,
Yeah.
why are they arguing with me if there's nothing to argue about?
Yeah. To be
If you don't believe, you have nothing to speak
Yeah.
against.
It's hard to argue with that because then anything's possible in their mind.
well, then
Well,
they're
it's
not
not
true.
a belief of mine. Doesn't mean I feel
That's a belief.
anything bad.
That's a
towards
belief
them.
in itself, not to believe in anything.
Well, I'm not mad at them for what they believe.
Exactly.
But don't argue with me about it because you have nothing to argue about if there's nothing
Yeah.
there.
I don't believe anything, so therefore I'm going to try to make you not believe anything. It's like, come on
If
now.
you are a Christian, why are you bringing a tree in your house and decorating it with silver and gold?
That is the one that I've done my research. It gets pretty.
This is man manipulated. This again.
Yes.
Don't think that Jesus had a Christmas tree. Don't think that. This is man manipulated. It's almost like Easter eggs. What the heck did an egg have to do with anything? It is man spending the holiday. I don't celebrate Easter.
They've
to go
perverted
look
it.
for
They've
eggs.
perverted. The evil ones have perverted everything, I think.
Well, the pagans.
You got to teach your children and yourself sometimes why the holiday is the holiday.
Yeah.
How you participate is your choice, as long as you realize what the holiday is actually about.
Jeez, Santa equals Satan. I mean,
No. He's no.
Lori M up there.
Look, Santa equals Satan.
No, this is I've heard all this. They broke it down the one in New York where they light that tree at this weird. I don't know. It gets real crazy, man. But again, folks,
That's
Yeah,
a
it's
touchy
just-
subject, I guess.
it is. It is. It really is. It's
is.
hard to. It's hard to wrap your mind around. If you dig into it, which I'm not gonna lie, I really haven't yet because I'm on another mission, folks. But in all my years of research, I've seen things pointed to this. I don't know the Bible if it says Jesus says, "Do not celebrate my birthday" at one point in there. And do people take that to be like the hero that says, I'm not a hero, don't call me a hero? And everyone says, you are a hero. And we're going to call you one.
I can make it very clear and simple. I'm not trying to push my beliefs on anybody, but nowhere in my upbringing, nowhere in my teachings or learnings, or nowhere in the Bible does it talk about go find an egg on Easter. Doesn't say anything about decorating a tree. That was a Christmas song, silver bells and, decorate with silver and gold. And then the Easter Bunny, I don't know where that came from, but here's what I can tell you. Look at the word Christmas, right? Now, some will say, well, why December 25th? Who knows? Who cares? If you are a true believer, you don't care if December 25th or June 25th is when we celebrate his birth. Somebody a long time ago picked a date to celebrate. It's
and you can't
okay
be,
to do
that's what I think. It's, if you look at it, this is all I got to say, and I've said this before. I've had my whole life, so to sit here today and let's say I didn't know nothing about it, and I look at a comment, somebody's like, this equals that, and Santa equals Satan, and you shouldn't do that. I'm just learning about that. You guys are telling me now. I'd have to do a lot of research. I've had nothing but blissful times on Christmas throughout my whole life. Absolutely. It's been nothing but family, good food, traditions. It's never been evil or dark to me.
It brings everybody together.
There you go.
Everybody has fun.
So whether
Al says my 11, I think this is your son,
her 11-year-old son,
Jesus was born closer to May, and I know that there is not necessarily science, but there is facts that support that. But we celebrate it as an American holiday when families come together. I just read Jeremiah 10:4. Good for you. Good for you. To my house. Good for you. Great, great, great verse. Again, December 25th was picked. I was always told it was because it had something to do with the North Star, where the North Star was located. The Bible doesn't say December 25th is when Jesus Christ was born. It does not say that.
Yes.
But it does say, and it does talk about Easter Sunday. So I'm not here to say, hey, believe in Jesus. What I'm saying is, if you don't, why do you care that the majority of those schools do? This is my whole point. Do we have to stop tradition?
Because most people try to get other people to believe in what they believe in, so they're not alone and they feel more right and justified in what they're doing.
Which goes both ways.
Yes, it does.
We've all been raised to believe one way, and they're trying to fight to believe another. Why fight though?
Yes.
Why just not believe your way? The majority has been raised to believe one way.
I have no doubt that if everything's been perverted, twisted, fake news is fake news, there's propaganda going on, that the evildoers have not tainted almost everything, and they say they pervert everything to be flipped. Now, whether everybody understands that and to the fullest degree, most likely not.
It all goes back to what I said earlier. It's your job to raise your children.
I mean,
the holiday is the holiday.
Have the evils not infiltrated the churches? Don't we have all these pastures or all these cases of child stuff going on? Isn't that I mean, it's bad if your neighbor's doing it to a kid. Is it a little bit worse if the church is doing it to a kid?
Right.
I mean,
I would challenge everybody that ever hears this, and this is a message you both have heard me say before. It doesn't hurt. It's not like it's going to burn your ears. But what harm comes from believing, and then think about why society and why the elites have tried so hard to separate and get this is the overall question. Do you find it strange that the farther we get away from faith, and I don't care what kind of faith and morals, we find ourselves in worse times?
Yes.
So
that's
just
exactly
answer
what
that
they're
to
doing.
yourself. I don't care if it's Jesus or Muhammad. The farther the elites push us from faith, the more we depend on them. And that's the war going on.
That's it.
That's the war.
And while they are getting us all separated and confused, walking in circles out here, they hold true to theirs and do rituals and all these things. So whether you believe in anything or not, like you said, a lot of people, over the months of doing the Q, you guys are getting on the Q's turning into like biblical stuff because there was some biblical stuff dropped. And it's like, or by, verses, and it's like, I'm out. I don't believe in God. Now the whole Q thing is done to me. That's fine, but it's kind of like, wow.
What did the one I just caught? Hold on. I don't see people griping about the Christmas days off you get. Easter, Christmas, Thanksgiving.
I'm going to work regardless.
They love the benefits, and I appreciate all you guys saying very true, amen, blah, blah, blah. But I do feel deep in my heart that if we don't start identifying, and one of the individuals just said, The elites are separating us from our faith. You must identify this is not a red or blue thing. This is good versus evil
Yep.
thing. And the further you get away from good and good-heartedness and just trying, there's a lot of people I don't like or I disagree with. That does not mean I love them. As a person, I
Yes.
still love them.
Yep.
Right?
And you hope that they
But
see
if we
the
can
light.
keep driving a wedge between us, the elites are going to get what they want. They're going to continue to just fuel this. And sooner or later, we all have to be smart enough. The millennials are killing me right now because most of them, they don't care. Well, at some point, they will care. They'll grow into it.
Yeah.
They'll grow into, they'll feel that in their heart and their mind when they lay down at night or when they hold their first child. It is important during this Christmas holiday season that we don't take it politically. Just enjoy the freedom of faith and understand how important that is to our society.
Yeah, exactly, folks. Spiritual warfare. There you go. So what? As much as somebody out in the community you might run across says they don't believe in this or atheist or whatever, the bottom line is these elites do believe in something, and that's just the bottom line. And if you can't understand that, then you don't understand half of what's going on. That's the sad thing.
I know there's somebody just said something. I think I understand. They were kind of blindsided. Maybe they tuned in to get some updates. Do we have any updates at all that we can talk about that you didn't cover your previous
There has
show?
not been a queue update. Let's see here. Ooh, nope. Let's reset.
I know we were.
Nope, nothing. There hasn't. So look at this. We did get Q&As. I know you guys probably didn't see this. We got some Q&As on the 12th of December.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
so my
5
phone.
days ago. So this is the 10 days of darkness, eh?
Here's Q 2606. Somebody asked. I got time for question and answers. How do you know the future? Control. So
Yeah.
there's all right.
Right.
No, we're just in a control period right now. Is Seth Rich alive? No.
Whoa.
What were in the envelopes? Our promise to counter at the funeral. Is there a plan in place after Trump? Yes. Will voter fraud be exposed before January? No. 2019 push voter ID based on variable intel fraud. 2020 plus safeguard. Is JFK Jr. alive? No.
No.
This sent shockwaves. But look what's underlined.
Shouldn't have sent shockwaves. I mean,
Look what's underlined, though. That's another conspiracy started. Well, yeah, JFK's not. Is Junior's not
I
underlined?
said on the last show, I could see that there was enough people trying to, they were trying to say that, but the conspiracy is why he was killed and who took the Senate seat in New York.
Yes.
I mean, that's the real conspiracy. It's not a conspiracy, it was fact. I mean, what was she doing coming up from Arkansas to go slide into a New York Senate seat?
Yes.
Obvious, because if he just said, hey, I'm running for it, he's going to get it. And if the man ran for presidency, overwhelmingly,
Oh, yeah.
the JFK name is still huge in this country. Camelot, baby. We were looking for a hero. We got one.
That's right. 2612. What about Snowden? Negotiating for return, traitor, mission to harm NSA. So we know Snowden worked for the CIA, and there was a big intelligence war between all the 17 different intelligence communities we have in the U.S. And the CIA is the oldest. They wanted to be in control of all the info, so they sent him over to the CIA to do or NSA to do exactly what he did. He exposed real stuff, but the reason he did it, his story is a lie. He's not because, I'm a patriot and I really care. It was because that was his job. Unless he was used as a
Sure.
pawn. Maybe, and that's not out of the question.
Julius Assange, stateside, question mark?
Nope.
No.
Not yet.
He can't be. Not yet.
Stress test. Yes, he said he added server and bandwidth for improved performance. Should we be prepping for some kind of shutdown? No. Reports of power grid attacks, 6-month prepping should be disregarded. While attacks do occur, we are safeguarded by black eye. That's, I
I'm
don't
trying
know.
to keep up. They're typing. So, hey, thank you all for look at the comments. I'm trying to follow along to see if there's any tidbits that we can jump over and discuss. Go ahead, Mike.
Will FLOTUS continue, First Lady, confirm anything on Hannity tonight? That was 5 days ago. Only her beauty and love of country. Do we have the gold? Yes. Gold shall destroy the Fed. We're going to get gold standard back, boys.
Well, that would be good. That way you can actually base your value on something instead of just paper.
Will voter fraud in California ever be brought to light? Yes. Watch California. It was deliberate. Just to shut the flat earthers up, Q, is the earth flat? No.
Well, right. That was kind of far-fetched. I mean, it was interesting to listen, but
And what's the bigger picture of it?
Right.
Is Gitmo going to be used for citizens? We know that one. It's 3 detention centers being prepped.
So you see, there was no yes or no answer. He just gave you fact. There's 3 detention centers. I mean, there's absolute fact right there. But he didn't say yes or no. Right.
Who are the wizards and warlocks? That's the guardians of intelligence. So that was it. Then we got N stress test failed. So
Should I buy gold from Levin, Texas? Listen, if always when you have a little extra change, gold is not a bad investment because here's what we do know. I mean, unless somebody deems gold worthless someday and everybody believes, gold is always the most prominent investment you can ever make. It doesn't go down much. It doesn't go up much. It's just, there's been times where it's gone up a lot, and there's been times it's gone down some. But if you follow gold, gold is, unfortunately, it's crazy too, because that is, like, in my opinion, like, it's so weird that a stone on earth became so valuable. It's worth more than a man's word. But gold is always your best investment.
I'd agree.
But don't
it's
buy
one of them.
gold, physical gold, and put it in your safe. Don't buy certificates from somebody in New York and says, "Here we go, you now own $1,000 worth of gold." Because when the crap hits the fan, lots of laughs. Scott had a what the f when you read the world flat one. But anyway, gold is a good answer. But if you're going to buy it, don't listen to damn commercials. Buy physical gold. Put it in your safe. You now own it. You don't own a piece of paper that, I'm not so
You
sure.
don't own a dollar bill.
Right.
Because a dollar bill is only worth as much as it's back.
It's insured by the FDA or by the Federal Reserve. So, physical gold is perfect.
And a lot of people got upset or took it maybe one way, and even myself, the prepping. Should I prep? No. What? And people got real, like, whenever the government tells you not to do this, you should do if this Q is government. Somebody asked directly about should we be prepping for some kind of something coming up with what we're seeing, and it was said no. Reports of power grid attacks, because there's tons of channels that were shooting to, you gotta do this. I always say, prep a little. I got stuff. I didn't go throw anything out off that Q post. Oh, no prepping. Let me go throw everything I got out. No, I mean,
before Trump was elected, I had a go bag, and I had a plan.
Yes.
During his presidency, 10 years from now, I'm always going to have a go bag. You never know what could happen
in your own local area, even just a power outage for a couple weeks. Sure. Why not be prepared? I mean, that's
there was a I can't remember where I read this, but it does make sense. But they said, if there was like a total outage or anarchy set in, 75% of the population will be dead in 48 hours. And if you really think about that, it's the populated areas. They're just going to kill each other over TVs and gasoline and Doritos and whatever. Meantime, guys like me in a rural area, I'm locking and loading. I got a go bag. I'm going to get further away from populated areas. It doesn't matter if it's a terrorist or maybe it's a governmental thing or whatever, or just a riot or a blackout. Have a go bag. What harm does it hurt to be ready? It's like a gun or a fire extinguisher. I'd rather have it and never need it than need it and go, man, crap,
exactly
I wasn't
right.
planning.
I got something. We go over here a little bit. I think you'll like it, just a touch. But here you go. This is really good. Go ahead and read this first one. There's like a lot. We're not going to be able to go over all of them.
QAnon, number one, QAnon thread about the upcoming General Michael Flynn sentencing, dedicated with deepest respect to at General Flynn and at M. Flynn Jr.
Michael Flynn, so that's his son, I think. So number 1B, go ahead and read that. Is that big enough?
If you are not well informed about the chain of events that brought us here, I suggest you read my earlier thread on the General. Pulse ran, QAnon, the storm, Great Awakening, where we go one, we go all, IBOR, blah, blah, blah.
So that's his link, but we're not going to go into it, but we'll just go to 2. So keep reading.
And he says, many people have been confused about what's really happening. That is only natural. Why?
There's a link. If I click it.
Wait, why? Flynn's sentencing memo leaves Trump-Russia collusion questions unanswered.
We're not going to read this whole thing, but
all they did was ruin this guy.
So that was cool. Wait, what?
Yeah.
Number 3.
First, look at this: the public dockets memos we've had access to have been
redacted,
and all probably have corresponding unredacted versions filed under seal.
So minute order.
Jeez.
As to Michael T. Flynn, there is a strong presumption in favor. I'll just read the yellow. The defendant has filed a redacted version of his memorandum in aid of sentencing on public docket and has established good cause to file an unredacted version under seal. Let's see here.
This one really bothers me. They took a really good man and just discredited him. And
Without this in mind, it is impossible to understand the situation. 5. And also remember the Russia probe is now supervised in the DOJ by Acting Attorney General Whitaker. He is not a fan of the special counsel Mueller.
thank God.
6. In his sentencing memo to the judge, special counsel Mueller asked for a reduced sentence with no prison time. He cites Flynn's valuable contribution as a witness to many other ongoing investigations. Which ones? Bear with me. So we know that's all fact. This has all been coming out. In his redacted sentencing memo, Flynn defense argues a term of probation with minimal conditions is as a just punishment. So we got all that here.
It's sad. And you know, if he's discredited, he's probably going to lose his pension. I mean, here's a situation where all this guy did is serve this country and try to do good. They, like we talked down there in Garage Talk, they found him guilty. They charged him and then went looking. It's the whole coherent. It's just they get to do whatever they want. They don't care who they blow over or ruin. They didn't have to do it in this manner. I mean, they took.
He admitted he was guilty.
And how can we
Because
gauge?
he was broke. He ran out and said, "I'm done."
Yeah.
Threw his hands up.
So they reminded the courts of his awesome character following the extraordinary public service in the United States Army, during which his innovations as a highly decorated intelligence officer saved countless American lives. We, in the storm, kept stating the general is a true American hero. But what do we know? We just normal people in Twitter, right? So read the commanding officer's opinion. His commanding officer, General Stanley McChrystal, Michael Flynn's impact on the nation's war on terror probably trumps any other single person, as his energy and skill at harnessing the intelligence community into a focused effort was literally historical. So then the memo cites what, after an interview, prior to the FBI's interview of General Flynn, McCabe and other officials, and we know McCabe's a bad actor, so again, and did you guys hear Comey? He had said, well, under the Bush or the Obama administration, they were pretty together, so we would have never been able to send a couple FBI agents over there because they would have wanted protocol, them to come to the front office, sign in, make a date about it.
Right.
Well, we knew this was early on in the Trump. We just sent a couple over there, and they got right in. So he was just said that a couple days ago at one of his little briefings out in town.
You know what drives me crazy is none of us really are behind the scenes, but we have a good feeling and a good understanding of who Flynn is. And these, and without swearing, I really want to swear, these prima donnas that wouldn't put a pimple on his rear end are trying him, investigating him. They're not war heroes. They didn't sacrifice. They got executive jobs in the CIA, the FBI, the judicial system, because they got a fancy-dancy Harvard law degree, and they were buddies with HRC and Obama, and we allow a man like Flynn, who if we were attacked now by the Russians or the Chinese, he'd put his ass right out there on the front line when these cowards would try to delegate and tell you how to lose and win a war from Washington, D.C. The credibility, and it's crap. D.C. is crap.
It is. Well, and I don't know. I don't even know if I'm that upset with all that. I mean, I'm like, whoa, this is what's coming out. He got a lie charge, and that's what they're hemming him up on. But man, I think it's such a bigger thing. I think it's really going to flip. Like this guy breaks down. There's no reason to mention the defense memo. How can we gauge what's going on behind these seals? What has Flynn helped out on else? 5 pro offer sessions with special counsel and 14 additional meetings with the government, all classified. Did you get that? Not the special counsel's office, but a different government that Flynn was going to. So according to this, they're saying, and then Roger Stone came out, but what else could his testimony be about? I will pretend to not know exactly, but we'll leave this old tweet here. General Flynn has a list of high-level pedophiles, the release of which will decimate the deep state.
So what they're trying to do
He knows where the bodies are
is
buried.
kill his credibility. So when this stuff hits the fan this next year after January 1st,
He's already
when
a
the
liar.
tribunals,
He's a liar.
Right, but when the tribunals can take effect and all this nastiness comes up, what they're doing is planting a seed. They're planting a narrative, just like CNN does. I mean,
They say the mainstream uses, well, and it's not the mainstream coming up with this on their own. Think about it. I mean,
they're not smart enough.
No.
They're not smart enough.
That is a narrative pushed from these very high people. Okay, this is going to be coming out way over here, so let's get a jump on Flynn now.
Right.
What's
What's the old definition Hitler used to use, and I might be wrong. Help me, somebody or one of you guys here, about what's the perfect lie. First, you get them to believe you, and then you can just spew anything. I don't know where I'm going with that, but that's what they're doing against Flynn. And it wouldn't shock me that he is, or has been, or is on a list to be a part of bringing down big pedophile.
Oh, yeah.
So if you can just make him, if you just discredit him now, nobody's going to go along with it later when he starts squealing.
Well, I mean, and so read these next couple. What's 14b say?
He knows where the bodies are buried.
And then what does Q say here? Read 15 from Paul Saran.
Yeah, and also remember Q drop 1280 from April 27th. It implies that, and that's a question, do you remember that one? It implies that Flynn lied about lying to the
Think
FBI.
about it, dude. This is a game.
So that's the truth. Two negatives is a positive.
And they went with it.
To enter the judicial process as a witness and get his mother load of intel inserted in the judicial evidence. Oh, my God.
Now read this here. And
Why would Flynn plead guilty to something untrue? Define testimony, define on record. Who knows where the bodies are buried? Flynn is safe. Expand your thinking.
You gotta
Trust
go,
the plan.
dude.
Trust the plan.
Nothing I learned from open sources make this seem impossible. Flynn, the parachutist turned super spook, went behind enemy lines on a dangerous mission for us all.
Amen.
After crooked Contreras had stepped off the case, it's been quite the relief to know that Judge Emmett Sullivan, who is notoriously hard on Brady violations, is at the helm.
Yeah, you got to understand what Brady violations are. But what is a Brady? Oh, okay. Read this. It seems to be pretty clear. There's been breach in this case. Brady rule, named after 1963 case decided by the United States Supreme Court, governs discovery issues in criminal trials under this term. The prosecution must turn over all exculpatory evidence to the defense.
FBI is refusing to do that 5 times to Senate Grassley or whoever on there, and now whoever else just ordered it, they still didn't turn it over. They are defying.
Yep.
Because they know it'll bring all this to light.
Well, because once they allow it, then it hits the media, and then hits
the narrative's over for them.
Man, yeah.
So once it hits the media, it'll get flipped anyway.
Yeah.
So Judge Sullivan asked for additional materials prior to his sentencing on the 18th. The people are freaking out that Mueller did not send the 302s. He is refusing to send the 302s. So, all right, let's shut this down, or
Yeah, we got a.
they got to get going. So this was just a tidbit, folks. I will be back to maybe finish this up. Actually, I'll just let this live stream go. I'll put on a video for you guys. I'm going to shut it down. Oh, I never hit record for the Patriot Hour.
That's all right.
It's all right, though. We have, let me see here. Now we had 150, 154 in the room. You guys stick with. I'll be back to finish up this article. I'm going to...
Merry Christmas, guys. I probably won't see... Well, I'll try to do something from the truck or something.
Oh, yeah, we'll get you.
But if I don't see you, Merry Christmas. God bless. Love on those babies, and open your mind. Open your mind.
Merry Christmas. Thanks for having me, guys.
In the midterms.
Here we go.
If you don't mind, Mr. President, that this caravan was an invasion. As you know, Mr. President,
I consider it to be an invasion.
As you know, Mr. President, caravan was not an invasion. It's a group of migrants moving up from Central America towards the border with the U.S.
Thank you for telling me.
And why did you characterize it as such?
Because I consider it an invasion. You and I have a difference of opinion.
But do you think that you demonized immigrants in this election to
try
to keep
them? I want them to come into the country, but they have to come in legally. You know, they have to come and get through a process. I want it to be a process, and I want people to come in, and we need the people.
Your campaign.
Wait. You know why we need the people, don't you? Because we have hundreds of companies moving in. We need the people.
They're hundreds of miles away. They're hundreds and hundreds of
You know
miles
what?
away. That's
I
not
think
an
you
invasion.
should, honestly, you know
miles
what?
away. That's
I
not
think
an
you
invasion.
should, honestly, I think you should let me run the country. You run CNN.
All right.
And if you did it well, your ratings
Let
would
me
be
ask,
much
if
better.
I may
Okay,
ask
that's
one other
enough.
question, Mr. President. I was
That's
going to
enough.
ask one other. The other folks.
That's
have had,
enough.
Pardon me, ma'am. Mr.
Excuse
President.
me, that's enough.
Mr. President, I had one other
Peter,
question,
let's
if
go.
I may ask, on the Russia investigation. Are you concerned that you may have?
I'm not concerned
indictments-
about anything with
that you
the
may have
Russian
indictments coming down?
investigation because it's a hoax.
Are you-
That's enough. Put down the mic.
Mr. President, are you worried about indictments coming down in this event?
Mr. President,
I'll tell you what, CNN should be ashamed of itself having you working for them. You are a rude, terrible person. You shouldn't be working for CNN. Go ahead.
I think that's unfair.
You're a
I've
very
worked-
rude person. The way you treat Sarah Huckabee is horrible. And the way you treat other people are horrible. You shouldn't treat people that way. Go ahead. Go ahead, Peter, go ahead.
In Jim's defense, I've traveled with him and watched him. He's a diligent reporter who busts
Well,
his
I'm
butt
not a
like
big
the rest
fan of
us.
yours either, so
I understand.
to be honest.
So let me ask you a question, if I can. You repeatedly
You
said,
aren't the best.
Mr. President, you repeatedly, over the course
Okay,
of the...
just sit down, please. Well, when you report fake news, when you report fake news, which CNN does a lot, you are the enemy of the people. Go ahead.
Mr. President, over the course of the last several days of the campaign, sir, at the end of the campaign, you repeatedly said that Americans need to fear Democrats. You said it would unleash a wave of violent crime that endangers families everywhere. Why are you
Because
pitting
they're very weak on
Americans?
crime.
Why are
Excuse
you
me.
pitting?
Excuse me.
pitting Americans
Peter.
against one another, sir?
Peter, you're trying to be him.
No, I'm just asking the question.
Let me just tell you, very simple, because they're very weak on crime. Go ahead, take the.
The Carter administration was one extreme, and then we came into the Reagan administration, yet
Nothing changed.
Nothing changed. What you're saying is that no matter what the political leanings, they seem to be playing the same game.
As long as you're playing their game, it doesn't matter who you vote for, who you put in office. They all belong to the other side. They're the pockets of the Illuminati. When you quit electing professional politicians, when you quit electing the guy who looks nice on television because he speaks good and he looks like the guy you wanted to marry or something like that, you're playing right into their hands. You know, they've made it so impossible for another Abraham Lincoln to get elected to the office of president that it's a wonder that we even have a chance at all. We need to send people to Congress and to government who are going to clean house. Kick all the members of secret societies out of the bureaucracy. Lock them up. Try them for treason. Because they are traitors.
So one thing that may help is term limitations.
We must have term limitations, and it must be only one term. And forget all this nonsense that anybody goes to Washington and don't know what's happening. They don't know what's happening simply because they haven't taken the time as citizens to understand how our government works before they ever go to Washington. You see, it should be a process that starts in infancy. It works its way up, and everybody should be taking part in the government.
Now, if someone came in to office with this kind of knowledge and with this kind of intent to really push these people out, would they not be eliminated immediately?
Not if they have the people behind them, because what the people would do in one fell swoop, in one election, would elect people who've never served in government before, kick the incumbents out, send citizens to Washington. And here's the way it has to be done. You know, right now, you don't even pay your congressman. You know who pays your congressman? The federal democracy of the District of Columbia. The federal government pays your congressman, who's supposed to be representing your state and you. The federal government is a foreign country to your state. Why should he represent you?
in the midterms. That
Here we go.
That, well, if
Let's
you don't
go.
mind,
Let's
Mr.
go.
President,
Come on.
that this caravan was an invasion. As you know, Mr.
I
President,
consider it to be an
as you know,
invasion.
Mr. President, caravan was not an invasion. It's a group of migrants moving up from Central America towards the border with the U.S.
Thank you for telling
And
me that.
why did you characterize it as such?
Because I consider it an invasion. You and I have a difference of opinion.
But do you think that you demonized immigrants in
Not
this
at all.
election
No, not
to
at all.
try to keep?
I want them to come into the country, but they have to come in legally. You know, they have to come in through a process. I want it to be a process, and I want people to come in, and we need the people.
Your
You know,
campaign.
Wait. You know why we need the people, don't you? Because we have hundreds of companies moving in. We need the people.
They're hundreds of miles away. They're hundreds and hundreds of
You know
miles
what?
away. That's
I
not
think
an
you
invasion.
should, honestly, you know
miles
what?
away. That's
I
not
think
an
you should-
invasion.
Honestly, I think you should let me run the country. You run CNN.
All right.
And if you did it well, your ratings
Let
would
me
be
ask,
much
if
better.
I may
Okay,
ask
that's
one other
enough.
question, Mr. President. If I was
That's
going to
enough.
ask one other. The other folks.
That's
have had,
enough.
Pardon me, ma'am. Mr.
Excuse
President.
me, that's enough.
Mr. President, I had one other
Peter,
question,
let's
if
go.
I may ask, on the Russia investigation. Are you concerned that you may have?
I'm not concerned
indictments-
about anything with
you
the
may have
Russian
indictments coming
investigation because it's a hoax.
Are you-
That's enough. Put down the mic.
Mr. President, are you worried about indictments coming down to this?
Mr. President,
I'll tell you what, CNN should be ashamed of itself having you working for them. You are a rude, terrible person. You shouldn't be working for CNN. Go ahead.
I think that's unfair.
You're a very
I've worked-
rude person. The way you treat Sarah Huckabee is horrible. And the way you treat other people are horrible. You shouldn't treat people that way. Go ahead.
In
Go ahead,
Jim,
Peter, go ahead.
In Jim's defense, I've traveled with him and watched him. He's a diligent reporter who busts his
Well, I'm
butt
not a
like
big
the rest
fan
of
of
us.
yours either, so
I understand.
to be honest.
So let me ask you a question, if I can. You repeatedly
You
said,
aren't the best.
Mr. President, you repeatedly over the course
Okay,
of the,
just sit down, please. Well, when you report fake news, when you report fake news, which CNN does a lot, you are the enemy of the people. Go ahead.
Mr. President, over the course of the last several days of the campaign, sir, at the end of the campaign, you repeatedly said that Americans need to fear Democrats. You said would unleash a wave of violent crime that endangers families everywhere. Why are you
Because
pitting
they're very weak on
Americans?
crime.
Why are
Excuse
you
me.
pitting
Excuse me.
Americans
Peter.
against one another, sir?
Peter, you're trying to be him.
No, I'm
Peter,
just
let me
asking the question.
Let me just tell you. Very simple. Because they're very weak on crime. Go ahead, take the.
The Carter administration was one extreme, and then we came into the Reagan administration, yet
Nothing changed.
Nothing changed. What you're saying is that no matter what the political leanings, they seem to be playing the same game.
As long as you're playing their game, it doesn't matter who you vote for, who you put in office. They all belong to the other side. They're the pockets of the Illuminati. When you quit electing professional politicians, when you quit electing the guy who looks nice on television because he speaks good and he looks like the guy you wanted to marry or something like that, you're playing right into their hands. You know, they've made it so impossible for another Abraham Lincoln to get elected to the office of president that it's a wonder that we even have a chance at all. We need to send people to Congress and to government who are going to clean house. Kick all the members of secret societies out of the bureaucracy. Lock them up. Try them for treason. Because they are traitors.
So one thing that may help is term limitations.
We must have term limitations, and it must be only one term. And forget all this nonsense that anybody goes to Washington and don't know what's happening. They don't know what's happening simply because they haven't taken the time as citizens to understand how our government works before they ever go to Washington. You see, it should be a process that starts in infancy. It works its way up, and everybody should be taking part in the government.
Now, if someone came in to office with this kind of knowledge and with this kind of intent to really push these people out, would they not be eliminated immediately?
Not if they have the people behind them, because what the people would do in one fell swoop, in one election, would elect people who've never served in government before, kick the incumbents out, send citizens to Washington. And here's the way it has to be done. You know, right now, you don't even pay your congressman. You know who pays your congressman? The federal democracy of the District of Columbia. The federal government pays your congressman, who's supposed to be representing your state and you. The federal government is a foreign country to your state. Why should he represent you?
In the midterms. That
Here we go.
If you don't mind, Mr. President,
Come on.
that this caravan was an invasion. As you know, Mr.
I
President,
consider it to be an
as you know,
invasion.
Mr. President, caravan was not an invasion. It's a group of migrants moving up from Central America towards the border with the U.S.
Thank you for telling
And
me that.
why did you characterize it as such?
Because I consider it an invasion. You and I have a difference of opinion.
But do you think that you demonized immigrants in
Not
this
at all.
election
No, not
to
at all.
try to keep?
I want them to come into the country, but they have to come in legally. You know, they have to come in through a process. I want it to be a process, and I want people to come in, and we need the people.
Your campaign.
Wait. You know why we need the people, Najee? Because we have hundreds of companies moving in. We need the people.
They're hundreds of miles away. They're hundreds and hundreds of
You know
miles
what?
away. That's
I
not
think
an
you
invasion.
should, honestly, you know
miles
what?
away. That's
I
not
think
an
you
invasion.
should, honestly, I think you should let me run the country. You run CNN.
All right.
And if you did it well, your ratings
Let
would
me
be
ask,
much
if
better.
I may
Okay,
ask
that's
one other
enough.
question, Mr. President. I was
That's
going
enough.
to ask one other. The other folks.
That's
have had,
enough.
Pardon me, ma'am. Mr.
Excuse
President.
me, that's enough.
Mr. President, I had one other
Peter,
question,
let's
if
go.
I may ask, on the Russia investigation. Are you concerned that you may have?
I'm not concerned
indictments-
about anything with
you
the
may have
Russian
indictments coming down?
investigation because it's a hoax.
Are you-
That's enough. Put down the mic.
Mr. President, are you worried about indictments coming down in this?
Mr. President,
I'll tell you what, CNN should be ashamed of itself having you working for them. You are a rude, terrible person. You shouldn't be working for CNN. Go ahead.
I think that's unfair.
You're a
I've
very
worked-
rude person. The way you treat Sarah Huckabee is horrible. And the way you treat other people are horrible. You shouldn't treat people that way. Go ahead. Go ahead, Peter, go ahead.
In Jim's defense, I've traveled with him and watched him. He's a diligent reporter who busts
Well,
his
I'm
butt
not a
like
big
the rest
fan
of
of
us.
yours either, so
I understand.
to be honest.
So let me ask you a question if I can. You repeatedly
You
said,
aren't the best.
Mr. President, you repeatedly, over the course
Okay,
of the...
just sit down, please. Well, when you report fake news, when you report fake news, which CNN does a lot, you are the enemy of the people. Go ahead.
Mr. President, over the course of the last several days of the campaign, sir, Sir, at the end of the campaign, you repeatedly said that Americans need to fear Democrats. You said would unleash a wave of violent crime that endangers families everywhere. Why are you
Because
pitting
they're very weak on
Americans?
crime.
Why are
Excuse
you
me.
pitting? Why are
Excuse
you
me.
pitting Americans
Peter.
against one another, sir?
Peter, you're trying to be him.
No, I'm just asking the question.
Let me just tell you. Very simple. Because they're very weak on crime. Go ahead, take the.
The Carter administration was one extreme, and then we came into the Reagan administration, yet
Nothing changed.
Nothing changed. What you're saying is that no matter what the political leanings, they seem to be playing the same game.
As long as you're playing their game, it doesn't matter who you vote for, who you put in office. They all belong to the other side. They're the pockets of the Illuminati. When you quit electing professional politicians, when you quit electing the guy who looks nice on television because he speaks good and he looks like the guy you wanted to marry or something like that, you're playing right into their hands. You know, they made it so impossible for another Abraham Lincoln to get elected to the office of president that it's a wonder that we even have a chance at all. We need to send people to Congress and to government who are going to clean house. Kick all the members of secret societies out of the bureaucracy. Lock them up. Try them for treason. Because they are traitors.
So one thing that may help is term limitations.
We must have term limitations, and it must be only one term. And forget all this nonsense that anybody goes to Washington and don't know what's happening. They don't know what's happening simply because they haven't taken the time as citizens to understand how our government works before they ever go to Washington. You see, it should be a process that starts in infancy. It works its way up, and everybody should be taking part in the government.
Now, if someone came in to office with this kind of knowledge and with this kind of intent to really push these people out, would they not be eliminated immediately?
Not if they have the people behind them, because what the people would do in one fell swoop, in one election, would elect people who've never served in government before, kick the incumbents out, send citizens to Washington. And here's the way it has to be done. You know, right now, you don't even pay your congressman. You know who pays your congressman? The federal democracy of the District of Columbia. The federal government pays your congressman, who's supposed to be representing your state and you. The federal government is a foreign country to your state. Why should he represent you?
in the midterms. That
Here we go.
That, well, if you
Let's
don't
go.
mind,
Let's
Mr.
go.
President,
Come on.
that this caravan was an invasion. As you know,
I
Mr. President,
consider it to be an
As you know,
invasion.
Mr. President, caravan was not an invasion. It's a group of migrants moving up from Central America towards the border with the U.S.
Thank you for telling
And
me that.
why did you characterize it as such?
Because
and-
I consider it an invasion. You and I have a difference of opinion.
But do you think that you demonized immigrants in
Not
this
at all.
election
No, not
to
at all.
try to keep?
I want them to come into the country, but they have to come in legally. You know, they have to come in through a process. I want it to be a process, and I want people to come in, and we need the people.
Your campaign.
Wait. You know why we need the people, don't you? Because we have hundreds of companies moving in. We need the people.
They're hundreds of miles away. They're hundreds and hundreds of
You know
miles
what?
away. That's
I
not
think
an
you
invasion.
should, honestly, you know
miles
what?
away. That's
I
not
think
an
you
invasion.
should, honestly, I think you should let me run the country. You run CNN.
All right.
And if you did it well, your ratings
Let
would
me
be
ask,
much
if
better.
I may
Okay,
ask
that's
one other
enough.
question, Mr. President. I was
That's
going to
enough.
ask one other. The other folks.
That's
have had,
enough.
Pardon me, ma'am. Mr.
Excuse
President.
me, that's enough.
Mr. President, I had one other
Peter,
question,
let's
if
go.
I may ask, on the Russia investigation. Are you concerned that you may have?
I'm not concerned
indictments-
about anything with
that you
the
may have
Russian
indictments coming down?
investigation because it's a hoax.
Are you-
That's enough. Put down the mic.
Mr. President, are you worried about indictments coming down in this?
Mr. President,
I'll tell you what, CNN should be ashamed of itself having you working for them. You are a rude, terrible person. You shouldn't be working for CNN. Go ahead.
I think that's unfair.
You're a very rude person. The way you treat Sarah Huckabee is horrible. And the way you treat other people are horrible. You shouldn't treat people that way. Go ahead. Go ahead, Peter, go ahead.
In Jim's defense, I've traveled with him and watched him. He's a diligent reporter who busts
Well,
his
I'm
butt
not a
like
big
the rest
fan of
us.
yours either, so
I understand.
to be honest.
So let me ask you a question, if I can. You repeatedly
You
said,
aren't the best.
Mr. President, you repeatedly, over the course
Okay,
of the...
just sit down, please. Well, when you report fake news, when you report fake news, which CNN does a lot, you are the enemy of the people. Go ahead.
Mr. President, over the course of the last several days of the campaign, sir, at the end of the campaign, you repeatedly said that Americans need to fear Democrats. You said would unleash a wave of violent crime that endangers families everywhere. Why are you
Because
pitting
they're very weak on
Americans?
crime.
Why are
Excuse
you
me.
pitting?
Excuse me.
pitting Americans
Peter.
against one another, sir?
Peter, you're trying to be him.
No, I'm just asking the question.
Let me just tell you. Very simple. Because they're very weak on crime. Go ahead, take the...
The Carter administration was one extreme, and then we came into the Reagan administration, yet
Nothing changed.
Nothing changed. What you're saying is that no matter what the political leanings, they seem to be playing the same game.
As long as you're playing their game, it doesn't matter who you vote for, who you put in office. They all belong to the other side. They're the pockets of the Illuminati. When you quit electing professional politicians, when you quit electing the guy who looks nice on television because he speaks good and he looks like the guy you wanted to marry or something like that, you're playing right into their hands. You know, they made it so impossible for another Abraham Lincoln to get elected to the office of president that it's a wonder that we even have a chance at all. We need to send people to Congress and to government who are going to clean house. Kick all the members of secret societies out of the bureaucracy. Lock them up. Try them for treason. Because they are traitors.
So one thing that may help is term limitations.
We must have term limitations, and it must be only one term. And forget all this nonsense that anybody goes to Washington and don't know what's happening. They don't know what's happening simply because they haven't taken the time as citizens to understand how our government works before they ever go to Washington. You see, it should be a process that starts in infancy. It works its way up, and everybody should be taking part in the government.
Now, if someone came in to office with this kind of knowledge and with this kind of intent to really push these people out, would they not be eliminated immediately?
Not if they have the people behind them, because what the people would do in one fell swoop, in one election, would elect people who've never served in government before, kick the incumbents out, send citizens to Washington. And here's the way it has to be done. You know, right now, you don't even pay your congressman. You know who pays your congressman? The federal democracy of the District of Columbia. The federal government pays your congressman, who's supposed to be representing your state and you. The federal government is a foreign country to your state. Why should he represent you?
All right, we are back. We got to garage talking for a little bit, so I'm going to finish up this article. Still got some people here in the room. All right, so what we found out. This is very interesting to me, folks, so it gives us a good inside look at maybe possibly what's going on here. I'm probably going to do this in a format for the Patriot Hour because I didn't record this. But anyway, so we know that maybe Flynn lied about lying. And now this judge wants to see the paperwork. What is it? Exculpatory evidence. And we know Mueller is defying that. He had till Thursday, this past Thursday at like 3 p.m. to turn that over, and he didn't. He turned over something else, or they didn't turn over anything. So this Emmett Sullivan, he's requesting. Judge Sullivan asked for additional materials before he would sentence. All right, so here we got the redacted paperwork that they turned over. Look at that, heavily. Shortly after the interview, Yates and McLeod briefed White House staff on Flynn calls. So what can we reasonably expect from this sentencing? Many people argue that the case should be thrown out entirely. This is also my personal opinion and what I'm praying for. So Congressman Gatz to Trump pardon General Michael Flynn. They've had several people call out for that. Since the special counsel has not pushed for prison time and the whole investigation was filed with irregularities, It seems highly unlikely Flynn will serve any. I hope and pray he will be free with his family. Now, even for what they're getting him on for a lie or something. If he was, I don't think it holds much more than 6 to 9 months. We wouldn't want him to have to do anything if this is all the case. So drop 953 from Q states that Flynn was targeted because he knows where the bodies are buried. That he will be cleared of all charges and again be part of the V.2 POTUS administration. Flynn targeted why he knows where the bodies are buried, cleared of all charges. Chief of Staff. So there's some videos going around about that. Could they pardon General Flynn? Would he make a great Chief of Staff? That was Flynn sentencing for today. End. So you can go over this link, Paul Ceron, Twitter. It's all here stacked real nice. So that would be pretty huge. This is one of the biggest stories going on the last couple weeks. And it is unbelievable that Mueller didn't respond. Did not send some of the 302s. The defendant is ordered on file on the docket forthwith the cited memorandum in FD 302. The court further orders the government to file on docket any 302s or memoranda relevant to the circumstances discussed on pages 7 through 9 of the defendant's sentencing memorandum by no later than 3 p.m. on December 14th, 2018. Should the parties seek to file such material under seal, the parties may file motions for leave to do so. The government is ordered to file its reply to the defendant's sentencing memorandum by no later than 3 p.m. on December 14th, signed by Judge Emmett G. Sullivan on 12/12/18. This is not good, folks. This is not good for our country, and we got people at the highest levels trying to cover it up. It's just a real sham. Our own FBI is playing games like this at the highest levels. Of course, it's really bad. They seem to only lose things if you go back in history when it evolves. Them telling us something and then us wanting to see it, and then they say, oh, well, we lost it, so you're just going to take our word. There was nothing there. There was nothing in all those missing text messages between these two people. The stuff we gave you was just the build-up, and the real meat we got rid of. And you don't need to see it. It will really implicate us. So they cover, hide, commit more crimes. And the funny thing is we got it all. We would have it all. Now, how do you take something and just prove it? You have to go through the courts. You have to get evidence pulled. It's the only way things are admissible. You can't just go download the file from the NSA secretly and have it passed to you and then bring that out. Well, how did you obtain this? How did you get these people's private text messages on their government phones? You have to do everything the right way. The minute they did something illegal, there would be, the deep state would file charges. They'd love to use their system that they've created. The minute you go breaking the law, all theirs is done by lots and lots of, separation, what we like to call plausible deniability, if they think ahead enough. I think they got real sloppy this last administration. They thought by all means that Hillary was truly, truly, truly going to win. They truly did think she was going to win. So they got extra sloppy. Administrations before, they probably still operated in a semi-what. The Obama administration was just really sloppy. They thought she was going to win. The turnover would be easy. And all this would go away. They'd bury it so deep that it would never come to the light of day. And what we're getting is an organic play out. An organic play out, folks. So like we've said, better to be following along with this than nothing. I mean, I still follow the mainstream. I follow this stuff. We have to. Out of everything, is that you're paying attention and that you're learning something. And here shortly, we're going to see. I pretty much came down to two things. I mean, and it depends on what you believe, but either the media's right, the mainstream media is dead on right, and you got to look at their track record now for the last 2 years. They've been pitching the Russia, Trump, and there's nothing. We've gotten some people here like Michael Flynn, some people that, that were possibly implanted into the Trump campaign going down for some lying, personal tax stuff, personal issues, nothing to do with Russia, but that's what they told us. So they've been wrong. You talk to these people that, well, we're still looking. It's not over yet. And then you got, the Q telling us stuff about Flynn way back in April, and here this is coming out now, and it seems to be, the bigger waste of time would be to, like a lot of people are doing out there, they're not helping in any way whatsoever. I guess they don't want to be part of the Russia-Trump thing on that side. They don't think the Q's real either, and they just sit around and either do, like on YouTube, do videos over Q channels saying how it's not true, but they're not giving you anything at all. They're not doing anything positive in their life. They're not helping any kind of, if they don't believe in the Q and they don't believe in the Russia thing, what are they going to do to make a better world? What can they do? What can they start to do? Maybe something different than Q, different than the Russia story over here. What do you do? I mean, maybe break down how the mainstream Russia thing isn't true and there's nothing there. I don't know. It just seems like a waste of energy. And you'd think there maybe sometime is a reason why they're doing that. Could be because they're evil people. So choose who you, always do your research. Like we say, folks, do your own research. Think for yourself. Watch everything you want. Listen to everything you want. And just don't believe any of it till you can verify it. If we are witnessing the greatest intelligence or great awakening, and this is a true military op, there is no way anyone would be able to crack all this anyway, because that's the whole design. They are, military operations are designed so the enemy can't even figure it out. In multiple levels, so it's not going to be that easy for a civilian that has no background in any of this, that just works a 9 to 5 and has some kids and has a family, and in his spare time he looks into this and he's able to crack it at home and tell everybody it's not right, not real, and this is, if you got some really good reasoning, share it. Because it is a slow process, but we're seeing here now. This could have been a plan the whole time with Flynn. Lie about lying. And then when it comes down to it, you're going to have to get some paperwork pulled. It's going to screw their whole little plan up a little bit. These deep state they know what's coming. So they got the jump on Flynn. That's exactly what they would do. And now that the limelight's all on them, they're going to get their story. I think it's going to flip right on them. So this is huge. We're going to be waiting on this one. All right, I got a few things to do here. I wanted to finish this up for you guys, and we did. We got to the end. Probably be back here in a couple hours. I just have a few things to do around the house with my family, and look for another live stream possibly around 8:30 or so here on the Patriot Tech. I'll put out another warning video for the Patriot Hour. We'll be back. You guys have a great couple hours here till I'm back, and we'll see. I'm gonna go ahead and shut this one down. We'll start a new one. So see you guys back here in a little bit.